how are you going to fully be able to love me if you can't even fully love yourself alone?
Some tears, some stress, but I count my blessings.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Ashley, and I make a lot of content surrounding girl chats, different travel vlogs, days in my life, and so much more. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, I hope you keep on watching. So this video, I kind of just wanted to get a little comfortable. So we're in a different setting. If you can see, I'm just on my sofa, and I just wanted to make this environment as comfortable, as welcoming as it can be, just like a little FaceTime audio with you all. So hopefully you get that energy with this vibe. Now, today's video. So I wanted to talk about not settling and the fact that you're not asking for a lot, you're just simply asking the wrong people. And this is something that maybe many of us have heard, but it's oftentimes harder to really remember and use. And so I want to dive into it, talk about some things and recent discoveries, and again, just like catch up with you all as always. So grab your snacks, grab something to drink, and let's dive into this video. So a little bit background story, because that's where we always start with these girl chats. I have to give a background story of where my mind is, what I'm thinking, to bring me to the life lessons I'm learning. So I recently was brought to a place of allowing someone back into my life. Okay, keyword, back into my life. So this wasn't like a stranger or someone new and random. This was someone I already knew. Okay, and I began to let this person back into my life due to history, right, connection, and just love for this person. Oftentimes we give people chances again and again and again because we have love for them and we deeply believe that things will be different, you know, things will be better this time, etc. And so I let this person back into my life, and I quickly discovered I was about to settle. I was this close, like this close to settling and allowing myself to enter into something that was below my standards. And initially I was thinking to myself like, oh my gosh, God, why would you even bring this person in my life? Like, if they were not ready, if they were still, you know, figuring out things, why would you even bring this person back to my life? You know, wanting to blame everyone else instead of myself, instead of taking accountability. And so I had to really dig deep with myself and say, first of all, Ashley, okay, let's dial it back. Why were you so willing to let this person back into your life? And thenceforth, why were you so willing to lower your standards for this person? And oftentimes when someone does something wrong to us, while yes, it's their fault because it's their actions, oftentimes we have to also take accountability and ask ourselves, why are we continuously, especially if it's not just a one-time thing, allowing the different energies to be in our possessions with people, with life, etc.? Because it digs so much deeper than just the person or the action itself. And so I took a moment and allowed myself to realize I deeply believed subconsciously that that was a love I deserved because I hadn't really worked through discovering my worth as much as I thought. There was still a part of me, the triggered, unhealed version of myself, that believed I deserved a love that was not nourishing, that was toxic, and etc. And the truth is, no matter how much time goes by, right? No matter how many months, days that you're on your healing journey, you're constantly going to be triggered, and there is a part of you that still lives. That emotional damage 7-year-old, that emotional damage 18-year-old, etc. They still live within you. It can easily be triggered and come back alive. That is where your healed version comes in and say, no, I don't want to live from that part of me. And so I had to take some accountability, number one, and really ask myself, okay, why do I believe I deserve this love? Why am I so willing to settle for this type of love? And now how can I move forward? So something that I recently mentioned in one of my previous videos were my 3 basic standards when it comes to dating. Okay, and just to recap on these 3 standards in case you haven't seen that video is Number one, have you been to therapy? And this is really not in like an order, it's just yes or no. So number one, have you been to therapy? Oftentimes people go through a lot of different traumas, okay? And we have not been given the tools, especially in the Black community, the tools and resources to navigate our mental health, how to prioritize our mental health. We've been bombarded with a lot of stigmas, thinking that like you shouldn't get help, you're crazy if you get help, just go to the church, just go to God. And that is so just a negative cycle to be in, because we all need and deserve help to figure out and navigate this thing called life, okay? And we all have traumas, big and small, that we have to heal from. And so for me, it's very important to know someone that I'm dating and trying to build a relationship with romantically. Have you been to therapy? Have you taken steps to figuring out how to deal with your emotional wounds, emotional triggers? And if you are not currently in therapy, what are some things that you do as different forms of therapy? So for example, I've been to therapy, but I am not currently in therapy. And the reason why I'm not currently in therapy is just because I'm doing some other things, and therapy can be expensive. And I just feel like the point of, okay, can I talk? I just feel like where I'm at in life, I don't need therapy. There was a really dark space where I was like, okay, I need to talk to someone professionally. I need to deal with this. But I've done a lot of healing, I've done a lot of growth, and so I went ahead and took like a pause on my therapy sessions, because I just wasn't in that season of my life where I felt like I needed to talk to someone professionally. And that's something you have to discuss with yourself. But again, if you are not currently in therapy, what are some forms of therapy? So for me, I know I journal. I still take time and I journal all my thoughts, how I'm feeling, really just get it out on paper. And that's a form of therapy for me. I meditate a lot, really coming back to center when I feel overwhelmed, when I feeling anxiety starting to creep up. I go to church. I have a very sense of closeness with God. It brings me to a peace level and happiness and refreshment. I have family and friends that I can talk to and really feel a guidance and good spiritual advice, and not just like making me more triggered. I dance, because like just dancing and getting out the tension feels so good. So I do things that are a form of therapy for me, right? And so again, when I am moving into a relationship with somebody, I need to be able to see, okay, have you been in therapy, and what are some forms of therapy for you? And the second basic standard is, how long have you been single? What has been the longest amount of time you've gone being single, and what were you doing in that season of singleness? So for example, were you still entertaining multiple people? Were you still having sex with multiple people? Were you still entertaining that ex that you knew you shouldn't have been entertaining? Like, what were you doing during single time? Or were you taking time to really focus on yourself, really heal from the past traumas you faced, heal from the relationship you just exit out of, prioritize your mental health, prioritize your goals, your standards, etc. Because like, if someone hasn't been truly single and dating themselves for at least 5 months, that begs a question of like, why is that? Because if you can't learn how to love yourself and be alone with yourself, how are you going to fully be able to love me if you can't even fully love yourself alone? So, and then my third basic standard is, what does your spiritual relationship look like? Do you pray? Do you believe in something bigger than yourself, bigger than source? Do you actively participate in a relationship with God daily? What are you doing to cultivate that? Because I am a big believer in God. I pray. I go to church. I meditate on God's word. I do things to where like I'm going to want my partner in that space as well. So those are my 3 basic standards, okay? And if you can cover these 3 basic standards, we can move into like other little things I look for. But those are the 3 main ones, because the minute I found like this person don't, I know for a fact I gotta move on. However, we're gonna take accountability. We're gonna have a moment. I was about to settle. I created these basic standards based off of my healing journey and the love I found within myself, right? Because I'm never going to ask someone else something of them that I have not done for myself, that I cannot give myself. And me creating these basic standards are, again, what I look for. But I was about to settle based on history and love I had for someone that they did not meet, not 1, not 2, but any of my standards, okay? They didn't meet any of my basic standards. And I was about to settle and believe in this like mindset that we as women mostly do, right? Well, you know, time will heal, I could help them, you know, potential, right? Believing in this person's potential. And it's like, girl, wake up. Don't do that to yourself. You make these basic standards for a reason, so look out for them. And you know, I think that in all honesty, me spending time with myself again is the reason why I created these basic standards, and I have to acknowledge that. So that's number one. Okay, a little background, a little story time of why I even want to like make this video. And again, acknowledging like you're not asking for too much, you're just asking for the wrong people. Okay, we had a little bit of a moment. Your girl ran out of memory storage. Are we surprised? But anyways, as I was saying, really navigating, creating your basic standards. And so that way you can really know, okay, what am I first looking for? And really to like piggyback on that, building your basic standards really just stem from spending time alone. As I mentioned, if you're not able to spend time alone with yourself for at least 5 months, right, where you're not entertaining anyone, you're not having sex with anyone, you're not talking to anyone, you're just really spending time with yourself, navigating yourself. If you have not been able to really do that and tone into that, that is a topic of discussion, because it's like, why am I not able to just be alone with me, not giving myself to anyone in any romantic way, but just be with me? Why can I not do that? You know? So again, spending time with yourself will really be able to create your standards, and you will learn that the people that once were able to get your time are no longer going to be able to. They won't even be able to like meet your basic standard, because you have just moved and changed so differently. So that's like number one kind of part of this video that I wanted to highlight and talk about. Number two is really tuning into knowing just the different energies and levels I want to be in. So again, I know for a fact that I have certain triggers and traumas, and one of them being people pleasing. Oftentimes you can think like, oh, this is good, you want to help everyone and, you know, be nice, but it is really toxic. And so with being a people pleaser, I would oftentimes try to create spaces of like making everyone happy and like keeping the peace and feeling like, you know, I didn't want to say the wrong things, do the wrong things. And the truth is, that was all toxic thinking, and it led me to a lot of deep healing I needed to do because of it. And now, because of that healing, I just realized I no longer want to or will allow myself to be in spaces that does not feel good to my emotional well-being, that does not feel good for me to communicate my emotions, etc. I think another thing to talk about this is, especially as women, we can be told so many times that we're too emotional, we're too dramatic, we're too, you know, sensitive. And because of these words that's been, you know, pushed and pushed and pushed again on women, what happens? We then create this like barrier where now we have to be in a very masculine energy. Like, well, I'm just not going to say anything. I just have to be so strong, because if not, I'm going to be looked upon as sensitive and weak in a sense. And I struggled with that for so many years, feeling like my voice just didn't matter, or I was just too sensitive. I needed to toughen up. I needed to like kind of put myself down to make other people happy. Like, okay, this person made you feel uncomfortable, but whatever, we're not going to talk about it. I'm just going to hold it in, because if I do, I'm going to seem too sensitive. I'm going to seem like I'm doing too much. So you know what? I'm just not going to talk about it. I'm just going to move on with my life. And that is so bad. And so now, as I'm healing, I realize, yes, maybe I am a sensitive soul. You know what? I know that I am a sensitive soul, and I take pride in that. I take that as a privilege to have a sensitive soul, because I'm able to feel the emotions and feel things very deeply. I'm very connected to myself, to my intuition, to my well-being, and that is never something to be, you know, that is never something to be, you know, feel bad about. And so now I move differently. So if I feel uncomfortable by something and I go up to a person, I let them know like, hey, I didn't really appreciate the way that you said this or did this. It did not make me feel good. And I noticed off the bat they're kind of like not taking accountability. They're just like, oh my gosh, like you're just doing too much, you know, again, making me feel as if like my emotions are not valid, they just don't care, etc. Instantly I take note and I move accordingly, because I just realize I am not going to feel bad about how I feel. I am not going to feel bad about saying, listen, this is something that makes me feel good, this is something that doesn't. And I communicate with you, and then you just kind of like make me feel, you know, stupid, or like I'm done. I used to be in spaces, this sounds so bad, but I used to be in spaces like that for so long with people I love, with friends, etc. I would feel so bad, bro. Like they would literally make me feel crazy. Like you're just being crazy, you're just tripping. And I would like internalize that. Not anymore. I'm like, no. The minute you make me feel bad about expressing my feelings, bye Felicia. You know, like I gave you a chance to come to you with something, because I understand people are gonna let you down, people are gonna hurt you. I let people down all the time. My family, friends that I love, I let them down all the time. But I tell them, like, listen, come to me, let me know, hey Ash, I didn't like how you said that. Hey Ash, I didn't like how you did that, and let's talk about it and let's fix it. But when I come to somebody and they just like kind of make me feel bad, it's like, no. And again, this is where the title of the video comes in really to play. Like, you're not asking for too much, you're just asking the wrong people. Because now that I have like opened up my horizon and I only cater myself being around people that are like sensitive souls like myself and can understand me, I realized I wasn't asking for the impossible, because these women and men in my life now, they're able to do that. I'm able to go to my mom, go to my friends, go to my aunties, family, etc., and like I could talk about anything, and they're like, Ash, I get that. Ash, understand that. You know, even my brothers, I can say, hey bro, I didn't like how you did this, and they're like, okay, you know what, like you're so right. And it's just an amazing feeling to be around people that can see you, okay, they can value, and they can understand you. That's like number one. And so again, I've just been prioritizing myself and like, no, I'm not asking for too much. I'm not too much. I'm not dramatic. But instead, I know what I want and I refuse to settle. And like, lastly, what I really want to wrap up on is kind of like another little story time, if you will. But oftentimes we can get so caught up in knowing what we want that we begin to just settle for what seems like it's what we want. So for example, I'm trying to like think of a good example. So today at church, it's Sunday, we're talking about King David, and we're talking about how like not a lot of people talk about the actual struggles King David faced, but most importantly, just him being king, him, you know, defeating Goliath, like all these good like accolades, but nobody really talk about the different, you know, journey to what it took for him to get to where he was. And so oftentimes we can see other people's lives and we can become like, oh my gosh, like when is it going to happen for me? When am I going to be in a relationship? When am I going to get the job? When am I going to have the family? Everybody else around me is. And because we're just so kind of that desperation, comparing ourselves to somebody else's story, we settle, right? And we realize like, this isn't really for me, this isn't really what I want, but you know, at least I have a person, at least I have the job. When we don't know a lot of people's beginning, when yes, King David could look like he had the perfect, you know, story, but you talk about how he spent years running from King Saul, years running to save his life, you know. And so sometimes, yes, it can get frustrating in the waiting season because you're like, I just want this thing to finally happen. But don't settle, because the minute you do, you will miss out on everything that God was trying to bring into your life. You'll miss out on everything that he was trying to bring you through to get you to where you ultimately meant to be. And so, you know, I understand I'm 22 years old and that's not that old, but I do see my peers all the time, or people like close to me in age, younger than me, receiving things that I want to receive. And it can be hard, right? Because you're like, I want those things. Why isn't it happening for me? But I just come to the realization that when it's meant, number one, it will be. Number two, I'm not settling, because sometimes what look good on the outside isn't always so good. And to just like understanding myself, spending time with myself more, loving myself more. And again, just really going back to this mantra of like, I don't want to be in spaces where I feel like I'm asking for too much. I don't want to be in spaces where I feel like I'm literally settling. But hey, I have a partner. Hey, I'm with somebody. Hey, like I'm getting flowers here and there. But my peace, my well-being, my mind is not there. So hopefully this video makes sense. I sometimes always say that because I know what I'm talking about, but sometimes I feel like it could be all over the place. So the main message of this video, of today's video, if you haven't taken anything else from it, is number one, sis, you're not asking for too much. You're just asking the wrong people. Number two, spend time with yourself. You want to know, you know, how to build standards. You want to know what you should and shouldn't deal with. Take time with yourself and you're going to understand it. You're going to grow this deep bond with yourself that you will refuse to be in spaces that do not serve you, like literally serve you. And number three, take time and really evaluate every lesson that life is showing you. Give yourself grace when you make mistakes. Give yourself grace when you make the same mistakes, because like that can be the hardest lessons. Like, oh, I said I wasn't gonna do this and I did it again. But give yourself grace. Understand that like everything is happening for you, not against you. And you know, when it is your time, whether that's a relationship, whether it's a family, whether that's a certain job, career you want, it will come when it is meant for you. Right now, take this time of your life to enjoy the waiting. Enjoy, and I know people say that and it can seem so cliche, like, okay, I know, enjoy the waiting. But it's so true, like enjoy the waiting, because when you don't, you're in such a rush to just like get the things that you think you want. Oftentimes you settle and then you miss out on so much that God was trying to show you during the waiting season. So it's an encouragement to you all and to myself to forgive myself for the mistakes I've made, learn the lessons that I need to know, because life is really silly and we're just here to grow, right? And learn and live and have fun. And number three, to be around people that value me, that loves me. I'm no longer settling or taking the bare minimum. No. I know what I want and it's not too much. And the right people that are meant to be in my life will be, and they'll grant me what I want and so much more. So yeah, again, hopefully this video made sense. Hopefully you took something that you needed to take away from it to learn and understand. As always, if no one else have told you, I'm here to tell you that I'm proud of you and you're doing exactly enough. You're exactly where you need to be. And trust, most importantly, the process, yourself and God. And without further ado, I hope you enjoyed this video, and until next time.